All right. Now that we figured out what's going on, Shadow Corner fam, it's your friendly neighborhood life coach, Cyan Gates. I'm so glad that it is finally here, 2026. Let's give some clap ups for that. Uh this has been, for me personally, one of those years where it's like, woo chow. I'm just ready. I'm glad it's over, but I am ready for more. So, as you know, I was like, for those that are new to this channel, hi, my name is Cyan Gates. I am a life coach, doula. I would say to my friends, a certified emotional support animal, and to those that know me, a very good friend, listener, and basically I have a lot of titles, but we're not here to talk about that. Uh Usually at the end of the year, I do what's called a 20 of the year recap. So it's not going to be long, but it is going to be intense because you're also getting nuggets from me this year, from the end of this year. So I hope that you're prepared. If you're not already, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. And to also make sure that you are aware of our TikTok and our YouTube channel, Rumble, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. We are up in all our platforms. We are streaming live from Facebook and LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, and Rumble. And towards the end of the video, you will get to be able to screenshot or pause the screen so that way you can follow us on all channels and such. Now, this the best way to describe what a 2025 recap is for Shadow Corner. It's for us to celebrate our wins and note our lessons. So, for those of you that have not been on Shadow Corner, what we do here is that we recognize the parts of ourselves, which is aka our shadows, that where we can deconstruct and reconstruct how we look at not only ourselves, but how we see others and how we see situations. So if you haven't seen any of my stuff or any of my videos, I encourage you to go on my TikTok and I encourage you to go on to my YouTube, where I've had multiple interviews and such, and you'll get to know the essence of Shadow Corner. But without further ado, without us taking up too much time, let's go in to drumroll, please. The 2025 recap. So, a lot of things have happened to me in 2025. Probably not many people know. Sorry, lunchbox. Yeet. All right. So, first thing that happened in 2025, June of 2025, I recently got married. So, let's clap it up for that. And I've also been trying to adjust to married life. It seems like it's no different from boyfriend and girlfriend life. Only difference is there's like you're a certified title and they can't get rid of you. I told my husband, and my husband has told me that I'm stuck with him. He can't get rid of me, and I can't get rid of him, no matter how hard I put him up to auction. But still, it has been very rewarding, very challenging. Things were not peachy at first, especially at the beginning when it came down to my wedding. Uh, Apparently, the people that had my dress, they lost it or they sold it. So it was like, ironically, a lot of things that was going on. After that, I was just like, look, as long as I have a beautiful wedding and a beautiful occasion, I'm not really worried about it. Everything's going to be fine. So with that being said, um, that was one of those rewarding moments because in my family, I didn't see too many people celebrating their unions or actually, how to the best way I put it. I didn't see too many people embracing marriage in a way. For like me and my partner, it was just us understanding that within this next level, there have come different things. Which reminds me, I always do a quote at the beginning of these things. So let's not dally over that too much. So the quote that I have for you is for about gratitude. And that's something that I feel like that we need to do a lot more of this coming in 2025 after leaving 2025 and entering into 2026. In some way, shapes, or form, I felt as if like sometimes we took for granted, not me specifically, but like from what I saw from iView, we took for granted a lot of the things that actually benefit us, and we never stopped to smell the roses of what that meant. So when we get to the word gratitude, the first quote that comes to mind is gratitude makes sense of our past and brings peace for tomorrow and creates a vision for tomorrow. Sorry. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for our today, and creates vision for tomorrow. Now, I highlight this because I feel like, again, since we just left 2025 and we're now in 2026, that means old patterns, BS, grudges, all that other stuff that has to stop. Um, that is something that in 2025, personally, that I had to leave behind because at some point in time, I felt like, um, as for me, I felt like justice was not served as swiftly as it should have. But I always have to remember, and this is something like my grandmother always used to tell us, and my mom tells me now, God's clapback is harder than yours will ever be. So if you sit here and are harping over past stuff, then baby, that's where you're gonna stay. Even a new year is not gonna help you progress into that moment unless you're willing to step in 10 toes down in it. Literally, me and my bestie have made a pact that we are going to go ahead and fight for our goals, fight for our dreams, and fight for what we feel is right for us. Because whether you know this or not, your fellow life coach was a people pleaser. And it was a hard thing for me to transition from over the years because I felt like if I uh did not do or did not perform to the expectation of the person that needed it, that they would not like me. But in the same token, they should like me regardless of what I do for them, regardless of um how I show up. The point is that I showed up even when others didn't. Another lesson that I learned also leaving 2025 was knowing how to stand my ground and stand in my truth. Now, that was a hard thing for me as well because even though I tell y'all all the time stand in your authenticity, which I do every day, sometimes it's hard because you never know what relationships get sacrificed in the end when you have to do that cord cutting situation. Because some people may not know this, but when it comes to next leveling, you're going to have to let go of people, places, things, certain opportunities, and sometimes even certain relationships in order for you to get to the next level. I had to let go of two relationships because one did not learn from their past mistakes or they did not learn from their initial settings and thought it was okay to still walk the red line or walk on the edge and think that they didn't have to make a decision. But lo and behold, when you don't make the decision now and you wait, sometimes the decisions gets made for you. And then that's when you have to look at yourself and figure out, am I living for myself or am I living for them? Because if you lost someone, whether it be me or somebody important in your life, because a decision you didn't want to make, because you knew that it meant sacrificing a piece of yourself that you no longer needed in order to get the person that you're trying to get into, that you're trying to morph into, transform, transition into, then you'll have to think about exactly what does change mean to you, and what are you willing to give up for it in order for you to be able to be the better version of the person that you want to be. Trust and believe, there have been plenty times where I sat there and I let my fear of either being alone or my fear of walking by myself stop me from a lot of things. But then I had to sit down and realize that if people are walking with you, good, bad, ugly, and in between, those are downright people because they actually know where you're going and they're trying to get there the same way you are. It may not be in the same route as you are, but we're all walking side by side on different paths, but at the same on the same path at the same time or at their destined time. I hope that makes sense. So I asked the question again for those that are entering 2026. What relationships, what parts of you, what behaviors, what habits are you willing to sacrifice in order to become the best you for this year? Now, like I said, don't get me wrong. If you feel like you can handle whatever is being thrown at you and it's not something to bother you, by all means, do you, boo boo, all day long. I can't tell you what to do. I can only show you through my life, my experiences, and let you know exactly what the end result was for me. And I hope that you take the lessons from it. Because whether you know or not, you're gonna have to make those type of decisions. And it's going to let me stop that right here. Let me reframe that. You're gonna have to make those type of choices. That's going to rather either make you, break you, or help you stay stagnant. And I don't think we know exactly what it means to be stagnant. So I'm just going to break it down to you. So, say, for example, you're riding the fence between two things in your life, your dreams versus reality. You already know that you want your dream more than anything in the world. But at the same time, your reality is that you have bills, you have a life, you have friends, you have family, all this other stuff. But you have to start asking yourself, what decision is going to lead you closer to where you want to be so you can have that free time with the people that you love. When I was building Shadow Corner, the one thing that I remembered the most was the time that I was separated from my friends, because there was some friends where I would hang out with them and there's nothing like collective going on. They're just sitting in the house, just laying there, and we're not doing anything. And we're just like sitting here wasting our time away when we could be making plans, doing other things, but that wasn't what at that time that they wanted. So I say that all that to say, when you're in that type of situation, it's like sitting stagnant energy. It stays there long enough for you to be able to recognize it. But if you stay there long enough, it can cripple you and add more weights that either don't belong to you, or it will allow you to have a teaching moment, whether you want it to or not. So when I see those types of situations, I make sure that, number one, that I look at every single part of what I am trying to do. And that's me going forward. That's me going into the new year. And I have to ask myself, is this person, place, or thing helping me or is it taking away from me? So I feel like that's something that we need to look at as we're going into 2026. Is all these things going to help you or they're going to hinder you? And then you have to make the decision to cut it off. Another one of those things that I had to learn leaving 2025 and bringing it in 2026 is learning how to stand up for what's right. Now, you know me. If you've been here long enough or you know me personally, I do not take disrespect um long, or I correct it but when it's actually put out in forefront. So the one thing that I can say in this year, in last year, is that I had to literally speak up more than I had in years because I was so tolerable to a lot of things, which led me to for my voice leaving me. Because at one point I had like a knot stuck in my throat and then I didn't know why. But that was because it was stagnant energy in my throat chakra that wanted to come out, but I didn't give it permission. So when it came time for me to actually speak up for myself, God was like, all right, here's an opportunity. You gonna speak up or you gonna let this slide? I took full advantage to say exactly how I felt, and I didn't regret anything. And I actually felt a lot better, actually very lighter, whether it was standing up for me or standing up for somebody else. I took that opportunity to recognize and focus on what was really the most important, which was either I'm going to do this for me and start stepping on toes and breaking necks on the people deserve my that don't deserve my energy, or am I going to continue to let them do that to me and then hold like false resentment towards them when I had the final say so to how I was going to live my life? Like I said, you can live your life how you want to. That's going to happen regardless. But what's not going to happen twice again is God giving you an opportunity to stand up for what you believe in, and then you don't take it because you're afraid of insert whatever reason here. You have to learn that your authenticity has no timeline. It is literally waiting for you to give it center stage. And whether you know it or not, you are more powerful than you realize. So you have to reach deep down within yourself and keep that flame alive in in yourself, so that way you can move forward into the person that you're trying to be, or that you're going to be becoming. So that was something that I learned going into 2025. There's a couple things. So, what am I bringing into 2026? So, like I said, I don't the number one thing that I don't bring that I'm bringing into 2026 is me. And I mean all of me. Um I am a person that, like I said, I'm not scared to say my truth, and I will not regret the words that I say, because that's my truth at that moment, at that time, and in that cycle. Now, will people be hurt along the way? Yeah, most likely, if that's how they're gonna go. But my thing is, I'm not serving them. I'm serving myself. So I can't just sit here and just make it. And the best way I can say is I can't serve myself and serve them at the same time. Somebody's gonna get disappointed. It's just like you being you're not everybody's cup of tea. Your tea may be too hot and it burns their tongue. But you have to know what your frequency is. So in 2026, I'm grateful for being able to have a voice. I'm grateful to be able to have the opportunity to be able to not only speak up for myself, but be able to honor myself by doing so. Another thing that I bring into 2026 is the willingness to, oh, well, correction, not willingness. The thing that I'm bringing into 2026 is the ability to choose who I surround myself with energetically, as well as mentally and emotionally. Because whether you know it or not, sometimes you probably tolerate people because of like history, or maybe there's somebody that needs a lot of attention. Even if they don't need a lot of attention, they're probably somebody that just I can't pinpoint it off the top of my head right now, but just imagine it's somebody that anytime you either on the phone with them or anytime you have a conversation with them, it's like a mental battle of you trying to either suppress yourself, or it's a mental battle of you having to force yourself to stay in that situation. Now, I'm not saying that you have to hang up on them. I'm not saying that you have to tell them that you don't want to be around them. But I will say that this is a year where you're going to have to learn how to delegate your energy. And that means that you're going to have to delegate how you come and show up for certain people, and keep a note of how they've shown up for you, because then you keep the same energy once you walk through, because that's exactly something that I said I'm going to do in 2026. The same energy that I got from you from the get go is the same energy I'm bringing in. I don't have time at all to sit here and go back and forth. Either you're going to be here for the long haul, or you're going to get cut. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Another thing I'm going to bring in 2026 is being able to recognize. I'm trying to make sure I word it correctly. Being able to recognize like social cues. Like I have this thing with me where I'm used to people communicating with me what they want, but then when they're talking about social cues, as in like they raise an eyebrow, their handshake, making sure that I'm very observant of social cues to know exactly where that person is at that mental time, because a lot of us is probably going through mental situations and we don't have the time to actually sit down and have the conversation, so we unintentionally we intentionally see the cues, but we don't understand them, or we don't even ask the questions about them. It's mainly pertaining to making sure that overall that you are recognizing even the slightest bit of change in friends, family, and such, and then acting accordingly. That's something that I've had to adjust to, because you, like I said, I've been around people that just like were more vocal about what they wanted instead of looking at social cues. So that's something that I am continuing to work on as I bring it with me in 2026. This year has also been a very well, last year has also been a very rewarding year. As you know, if you don't already know, I am now a two-time best-selling author of a co-creating book called Breaking the Silence, Volume 3. Uh, and I tell three stories about how to become worthy steel. And those three stories, I feel like gives you an essence of who I am as not only a writer, but also as a person. Because a lot of people can say that they know you, but if they don't know the core stories, of you, they probably don't know who you are as a person. So in that book, it's on sale on Amazon. I talk about Worthy Still, and I mentioned my mother. Like, it's a very good read, and I encourage you to go ahead and buy it either on our on my website, or you can buy it off of Amazon. I think it's like $25 right now. So there's that, and then also I have a profile on Amazon as an author, Cyan Gates. So you can find that there. So where you can get everything that you everything that you want, any books that I've been collaborated in. And then I am currently, as we are talking, in the process of writing my own book so it can be published. So as we do that, give an applause. And I am so grateful and so blessed, and to have a team that's behind me to be able to get this book out. I'm hoping it to be out maybe close to my birthday or earlier than that. Who knows? Only spirit knows. And that's where we're gonna leave that. So the main nuggets that I want to leave you with as we enter in 2026. Number one, make sure that you're practicing gratitude every day. Whether we know it or not, we are the most blessed human beings on this planet. And whether we know it or not, in this great country, even though right now it doesn't seem like a great country because of the situation we're in, we are truly blessed beyond measure. And I want you to look at your situation right now. I want you to look at like exactly how blessed you are, how fortunate you are, how mentally, physically, and emotionally where you're at right now. Where you have the opportunity to do that, whether in your own house, in your car, or whatever the case may be. You are blessed. And I want you to take gratitude this year. Every morning you wake up, I encourage you to say, I'm grateful for what I have, what I will have. And even if I don't have it, I'm still grateful for what's been given. Because gratitude is one of those things that helps in manifestations. And the more gratitude we show, the more chances of prayers being answered. The second thing I want you to bring in 2026 is do not be afraid to speak up. If something's not right, whether it being towards you, a friend, or a family member, you need to say something, especially if you're the only elephant in the room. If you're the person with the bullhorn, I encourage you to use it. Let yourself be heard. Stand up for what you believe in. Let justice prevail within you because you don't know who else is watching you. The one thing I used to tell my friends when they had kids was that I was like, you have to understand that your children are looking at what type of adult that they want to be through you. So what you do and what you say and how you act is going to be reflected in them. So as a person and human being, you have to ask yourself, as you're walking this life, who are you wanting to be? And what actions are you willing to take to change that to become the person that you're leveling up to be? Because once you get there, there's no turning back. You can't go back to your old ways. They don't serve you anymore. They're just like old clothes. Once you donate them to Goodwill, they gone. Same thing goes with habits, friendships, relationships, kinships, whatever. Once they're gone, they're gone. Some can probably be salvaged, but again, if it's not feeding or watering your soil, it's not going to go any further than where it is. So I encourage you to not only stand up for yourself, but to also honor yourself and your energy by being able to understand where you are, understanding your boundaries or what you will and will not tolerate, and then also understanding exactly who you are as a person and know what it is that you want out of this life. The third thing that I want you to bring in 2026 is acknowledgement. This is one of the things that I had a hard time doing in 2025 because I felt like where my business was, it wasn't where I wanted it to be. So I didn't acknowledge the small wins, like the books that I was a part of. The was it the speaking engagements I went on. I just thought that was just another day at the office. But you have to celebrate those wins in order to know exactly how far you've come. It coincides also with the gratitude, being grateful for having the opportunity to be able to do those types of things. So when you walk in your purpose and you walk in what you're supposed to be doing, make sure you show yourself acknowledgement, praise yourself, and just say, I know I did that. I know there's more to do, but I did that. And give yourself a round of applause, give yourself the biggest hug, and recognize that you deserve validation. You don't need it, but you deserve the validation of giving yourself your own flowers. So I encourage you to do that. The fourth thing, bringing it into 2026, I want you to look at your old habits or look at your habits. Look at all the things that you said that you want to change within this year. And then ask yourself, what are you willing to sacrifice to do it? Now, when I say the word sacrifice, it seems like a scary thing for some people because they feel like it's like getting your leg chopped off. You know, once it's gone, it's gone. But in actuality, it's literally just another choice. A choice that is going to either require you to be more, or it's going to require you to ask yourself, are you worth more? If you understand what I'm saying. So when you make these choices and you're examining these relationships, make sure you keep the ones that are watering your soil, that's not toxic. And toxic, I mean that occasionally they talk down to you, they treat you like crap. Those relationships are not beneficial. There, it's abuse. You need to find somebody else to abuse because you ain't gonna be abusing me. Type energy. You're gonna have to bring that and stay on it, stand on it, 10 toes down. So I want you to bring that energy this year because the guests that we're going to have season 3, they're going to show you how to do that. Which reminds me, if you have not seen any of our content, please don't hesitate to go by our YouTube and our Instagram and our TikTok so that way you can see some of the people that I've already introduced. I know one episode I did with a young lady called Carrie Logan, who is a therapist. She did a good we did an episode together called You're Not the Problem. And in the episode we kept talking about different dynamics and how the people that you surround yourself with determine the person that you're going to be and how your psyche shifts. So again, I encourage you to look for that episode. It's a really good sit down, and I really encourage you to do so. Um, and the fifth and final thing, as I'm wrapping up this thing, this live, the fifth and final thing I want you to bring in 2026 is your A game. Your A game, but also make sure you're bringing your balance game. You're probably asking why I'm saying it both in one sentence. Uh if we haven't already seen it before, the stages of burnout is very real. The hustle hard culture has become like the mainstream thing that you do. Like you hustle until you can't hustle no more. You got to get to where you want, you get what's yours. I get that. And I support that you hustle to get where you want, but if there's no balance, then there's no no way that you're going to continue to hustle like you want to. I had to learn a long time ago. And I'm telling you this because Shadow Corner had to go on a break for a whole year in 2023 because I was at a point of burnout. And there's even on my podcast a episode where I talk to y'all about overextension and burnout. At that point, it was very hard for me to focus on what I loved. Don't get me wrong, I love Shadow Corner and all its parts, but I gotta take breaks. It's not easy being cheesy out here in these streets. But I try to make sure I take my breaks because I want to make sure that when I'm here with you guys that I'm showing up 100% me, not 75% me, not 25% me or 30, 100% me all day long. Because I'm pretty sure you're going to notice if I'm half energy. So, because majority of the time I'm just hyper for no reason. Majority of the time I'm hyper as hell. And I'll be sitting here trying to figure out where these energy come from. But I encourage you, like, go ahead and hustle for your dreams, hustle for what you want. But at the same time, learn to rest. Take it from somebody that had to be in survival mode for 3 years straight. All I did was go to school, go to work, went home, sleep, and did everything all over again. I promise you, through those 3 years, if they didn't taught me anything, it taught me exactly what I did not want to do. That my life be just centered around my job and then centered around bills. You have to learn how to balance these things out. And I get it. Bills don't stop just because you're taking a break. Get that. But you also have to think about your mental health in the situation. Is it benefiting so much for you to be out till 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, knowing well that you need sleep for another stage of the day that you need it for? So I encourage you to make sure that you take your breaks. Encourage you to hustle, but hustle conscientiously and be mindful of how to do it. Be smart with it. Don't try to do everything at once. Analyze your plate and then take off the things that you know that you can put on the back burner for a while. So, like, that was also another thing that I had issue with, where it's like I put a lot of stuff on my plate, and then in result, I ended up being so burnt out to the point where I had literally fell asleep in my car, and my husband had to come find me. Literally, he found me sleep in my car because I was so burnt out and overextended. And also learn what your stamina is when it comes down to that. Yeah, your dreams are going to be there. Trust me, the opportunities that you have that are coming before you this year is not going to stop just because you took a break. You need breaks. Breaks are a requirement, it's not an option. Do what you got to do to get yourself together. And then when you get yourself together, go ahead and press the go. You got to be TTG. You're trained to go. So don't be afraid. Take your breaks. Do what you got to do for yourself. And make sure that as you're walking into this year, that you know exactly what you want. What anybody else says or what everybody else do is none of your concern. You are focused on the you versus you moment. And I don't think we hear that enough, where it's like you versus you instead of you versus someone else. But I'm telling you, it's a you versus you year. You're going to determine exactly where you're going to go from this point forward. And if you don't have the decency to learn you, to master you, and to understand what you need as an individual, you are literally a zombie. Like, it's not me insulting you. It's like you're literally a zombie just going by reality claims and societal norms. You're doing exactly what they wanted all of us to do. Be slaves to a system that is only designed for you to either fail or work for someone else. So I want you to take heed of that today. You have a new year. That means another book in your chapter as an individual that's open and it's clear and it's good for you to take. You can taste it. So when you take that pen this year and you're journaling and you're reflecting, I want you to make sure that you understand that that voice, that little voice inside you, it's there. You just got to turn up the volume. And you have to be able to give yourself the time, the grace. I cannot say this enough. Please give yourself grace. You are not meant to save the world. That is why they made people that have similar gifts just like you. All of us are meant to serve not only ourselves, but to serve a different crowd each time. That's why they made so many of us. There's so many of us on this planet. So as much as you have the save the world type of mentality, just remember that you are one of a million people that are trying to do the same thing, but in your way, in your fashion, and no one else can do it like you. So as I take this out into a close, I pray that your 2026 is remarkable, awesome, that you hear nothing but congratulations. How they say, I curse you with good luck and good vibes and good wishes, and that you get everything you want and more. I pray that everything that you ask for comes to you swiftly and singly. It stays. It comes swiftly and it stays. I also pray that you recognize who you are now and honor who you were then in 2025, because without that 2025 version, there will be no 2026 version. So I encourage you. I love y'all. And I pray that all of y'all have a great night, a great new year. Don't drink too much. And welcome to 2026. Bye, guys.